that's the first of several battens that I will be laminating. This is 6mm ply, so it's got one central bolt, which is the bolt that goes through from the light bar. I got loads of this black PU40 stuff. I was sent 12 tubes of black stuff by mistake, so they just sent me some white. So where it's not going to be seen, I'm going to use it. It's not my favourite colour, black. It gets everywhere. Don't know why. I seem to make more of a mess with the black than the white. Perhaps it's psychological. But that's, as I said, just a bit of 6mm plywood wedged up there. I haven't cut these pieces of plywood back yet because they're just convenient for holding this up. Then I will laminate probably another 4, maybe even more, 6 probably, strips on here using just ordinary white wood glue. And that should give me enough depth for some insulation in this overhead cab area. There's the one on the other side. Is that focusing, or is that my eyesight? Before I add any more though, I need to refit the headliner just to make sure that it doesn't foul that piece of wood. I need at least something up there to be able to insulate with, but I'm going to have to do a juggling act, and then maybe I'll have to cut the remaining piece of wood shorter. But that was the main reason for fitting this light bar, to give me that bolt position there, which allows me to pull this thing up into a curve. I'll also be using that bolt to support the plywood front, the plywood base that this dirty great big air conditioning blower sits on. So there we have the headliner, well, the carpeted lump of 18mm plywood, and then the remainder of the headliner that the ambulance converter chopped up, temporarily put batting in place. The piece of wood there is just to support the centre because it is carrying the weight of this blower, and this piece of ply had bowed considerably because the ambulance converter, for some daft reason, never tethered this edge to the bulkhead. So that's basically straight with that piece of batten there. And then I've ended up laminating 6 layers of 9mm ply, and I've had to cut it back, as you can see right at that bottom edge there. I've cut it back because this piece of plywood actually goes within about 1 inch of the metalwork, and that lines up just nice. Get a nice transition from there onto this piece of ply here. I was going to cut this piece of ply back, but I realised it would be wasting my time to do so. But 6 pieces of 9mm ply, that's enough now to tuck some insulation behind it, and I just need to go and get hold of something that I can use to just build up the curve. Oh no, maybe I might have a bit of leftover fencing panel slats that might do. Don't really want to go and drive out every 5 minutes to buy stuff if I've got stuff laying around. But that's basically the principle. Bolted it up, glued them up, cut the screws just to pull the gaps together, because I ended up using PVA for the rest of this. And that provided a secure anchor. So now I'm going to take this headliner down again and insulate the cavern. I've put a small piece of plywood up there. You'll notice there's a curve, it's just behind the light. You'll notice there's a curve that's about 2 inches away from the metalwork. That's so I can tuck insulation behind it and maintain a depth of insulation in the corner of the cab. And I've done the same over there. Because obviously the corners, the edges of the places, you don't want to squeeze it up, you want a fair bit of insulation there. Now you can see why I've cut these pieces of plywood about 2 inches shorter, or rather I've scribed them about 2 inches shorter. That sheet of insulation now is tucked in behind there, as well as there's our insulation behind the plywood as well. It's well up against the edge of the battens I've created and tucked up there. And that is full width for the standard piece of insulation. It's about 16 inches. It's working out very, very well. This side, a little bit trickier to film and get to, but same principle, insulation tucked in behind the plywood. And I've stapled on a piece of this vapour barrier. That's actually dangling down pretty much in line with the mirror, because I will be carrying this underneath the insulation that's now tucked into the metalwork. Got a little gap there which I shall populate later, but all this lot under here can be done before I put the headliner up. The target at the moment is to get the piece of plywood in so I can get this air conditioning unit resting on it. And then what I've simply done is I stapled the bubble wrap on, and then I found some tongue and groove left over from when we did the conservatory. These are going in. I'm keeping a gap over there so that I can fold the surplus of this bubble wrap onto the ply, and then I'll double insulate these side pieces. That's the first run. That's allowed me to get the insulation in there and a piece tucked in there as well. Now I will add probably another couple of pieces of tongue groove, and then the final sheet of insulation there. Gonna need 1.5 widths, I reckon. And then the top part, this last piece, I can finish off once I've got this annoying thing out of my face and stuck onto its lump of board. I just need to get this out of the way because it's, yeah, you can see I've got it tied up so it doesn't fall on the ground, and I can't put any plywood on there or actually measure off anything until I've got this out of the way. That's now 3 strips in place. The bolts are obviously over long at the moment. I will be replacing those with stainless steel bolts and cutting those short and putting caps on, and just doing a few things to the heads to prevent condensation forming on them. But I reckon 2 more strips and I will stop, because then I'll be able to do the rest from this side once the piece of ply is back in. The difference in here already is very noticeable. That area metal there is warm to the touch. I'm under my carport. It's not that sunny today, but this metal is hot. Whereas all the insulated parts up the rest of the van is cool to the touch. It's very nice, and the same here. The piece of metal inside here I can feel is actually quite warm, whereas the underside of this, nice and cool. That's exactly what you need. Well, it's not just a case of preventing condensation. I want the damn thing to be a little bit cooler inside as well. I've now completed as much as I'm going to get done for the time being in the overhead cab area. I've managed to get the air conditioning unit in and as far to the left as necessary so that I can build a locker in this area here, which we will access from the bathroom. That's the plan anyway. I've got the 4 hoses on. The unit fits just. Obviously I've robbed a fair bit of head height from the or height from the ceiling by insulating it, and that top pipe for the air conditioning unit, it seems to be rigid. It's still, and there's an elbow at the top there which makes it a little bit tall, but it fits just. I've got my faithful stick there supporting it because it's quite a heavy unit, and this piece of plywood was quite badly bowed, so that's just going to keep it relatively straight. I've also fitted the remaining insulation in the ceiling, and I won't be actually putting the cladding on the ceiling until I've actually built the box that the shower room is going to go in, and that's the next job for another video. We'll be framing out the bulkhead that I'm going to build that allows the swivel seat to still swivel, in theory. We shall see. Thanks for watching.